¿A poco no el té con manzanilla se lleva con todo? Te invito a uno en este espacio seguro donde platicaremos del infierno que se vive alrededor de los trastornos de la conducta alimenticia y lo más importante, hablaremos de cómo caminar hacia la recuperación total desde un lugar de compasión, aceptación y amor propio. Soy Karla Manzanilla, coach para la libertad de los TCA y alimentación desordenada, así como sobreviviente recuperada de anorexia, bulimia, ejercicio compulsivo, ortorexia por más de 25 años. Te invito a que le demos un sorbito a nuestro té sin olvidar que nada de lo que se diga aquí sustituye un tratamiento profesional o médico. Así que si hay temas que te puedan poner en riesgo, evítalos y cuida de ti. Sin más que decir, escuchemos el episodio.
Buenos días, este es un té con manzanilla. Bienvenidos a todos los que nos están escuchando el día de hoy. Tengo a una gran amiga invitada, es muy especial, que nos acompaña hoy. La entrevista va a ser en inglés, ella vive en Inglaterra, entonces es un placer tenerla conmigo. Welcome, Julia. I was introduce you in Spanish. Tell the audience that I'm going to talk and interview you in English. But it's an honor having you here. To be honest, I feel very close to you because we start this process maybe like very in the same time. And I
We did.
remember, and for sure you remember me um, in all the process, like all our faces, how was changing, all our struggles. And to be honest, I feel very connected with you, like my sister in the process, like I don't know, like really close. And then looking at you now, how much you are growing and how much you are like facing out the fears. I mean, for me, you are a superwoman. Now she's my friend. We are in the same programs almost, and she's a coach. So welcome to the show.
Oh,
No.
thank you, Carla. I'm so excited to be here. And yes, we literally have shared our journeys together, haven't we? We've got such a deep connection and it's beautiful. So,
Yes, it is. Yeah. And I will ask you, well, if we can start and you feel comfortable to share your story.
yeah, sure. Okay. So I am 49 years old and I lived in anorexia for 40 of those years. Started my earliest memories are all of feeling wrong, of not being enough, of being too big or not too big like physically, but visibly, like being seen. I felt I needed to be small to not be seen. And if I wasn't seen, then I wasn't criticized and I wasn't in trouble. And so my family, my father was a very critical man. And we weren't allowed, he couldn't cope with anybody having feelings, showing emotions. And so I learned very, very young that emotions were bad and they were not to be shown. And I was not allowed to cry and I was not allowed to get angry. And as a little girl, this was really confusing to me, and because I wanted to cry and I wanted to shout and I wanted to be mad and I wanted to be happy, and I wasn't allowed to do any of those things. And I got into trouble if I did. And if I cried, I was given something to cry about. And so I learned really, really quickly to hide my emotions, to not feel them. And somehow I managed to find out that when I restricted my food, which I did in order to stay small and not be seen, that had the added bonus of restricting all my emotions. And so then I didn't feel them. So then I didn't have to hide them because they weren't even there. So I thought they were there. They were just being restricted and buried, but I didn't know that at the time. So in my child brain, this was the most wonderful thing ever. I could stay small, I could stay hidden, and I didn't have these emotions that would get me into trouble. So yeah, this is where the anorexia started. It wasn't really anything to do with like body image or anything like that. It was all about staying small, staying safe, and not having the emotions. And this sort of continued through my teenage years until, I guess, a part of me knew that if my parents found out, I would be in trouble, and that society wouldn't think it was a good thing that I was getting thinner and thinner. So I wore loads and loads of clothes and did lots of things to hide it. And so people didn't find out. But eventually, my school rang my parents because they worked it out. They realized I wasn't allowed to keep wearing a tracksuit for PE. I think it was trampolining or something. And they were like, no, you have to wear the shorts and t-shirt. And when I put the shorts and t-shirt on, I was very obviously very underweight. And so I was forced to weight restore at about 15, 16, I think. And I wasn't better though. I just was in a bigger body. I wasn't so emaciated. But as far as everyone was concerned, I was better because I wasn't so thin. I left home actually at 16, which made things a lot easier for me. The pressure to be hidden and stuff wasn't there anymore. And my parents they split up at that time as well. So they were very busy in their own circumstances, I suppose, in their own lives. And so things weren't too bad for a while. I still had lots of behaviors about food, lots of food fears, lots of rules, lots of things I had to stick to, or I felt I had to stick to. I met my husband when I was only 18 actually, and things were actually really okay for a few years. We got on well. He was very supportive. He had no idea I had an eating disorder. And he just thought that I was funny over food, fussy and picky and a bit obsessed with healthy food. He didn't know there was a problem. And I had some children. And after my first child had what's called anaphylaxis, which is a life-threatening allergy, and it was to egg. And so this made me really, really, really conscious of food again, like much more so. And I became very orthorexic, like really focused on everything being homemade, everything being clean, everything being natural, organic, no processed food, no refined sugars. But I turned it into like an obsession. It wasn't healthy how I did it. It was really restrictive. And then after I had my second son, I was really starting to get stressed about weight. And I started a weigh in and workout group, well, class that I went to. So I was publicly weighed every week and did a workout. And the weight was coming off really quickly. I mean, of course, I'd gained weight. I'd had 2 children. Everybody gains weight when they have children. But to me, that still didn't seem acceptable. So I lost this weight and I started doing the exercise. And the exercise was amazing because it started to change my body, that and the losing weight. And so I became really obsessed by that as well. And that grew and grew and grew until I was doing a lot of exercise. I then got pregnant with my third child. And the weight I gained in that pregnancy was less than the weight he was born at. Wow. And I had him in the morning and I was out for a run by lunchtime and I didn't rest and I didn't give my poor body any chance to recover from having a baby. And from then on, it was like, I guess I was like living in a Groundhog Day, the same day on repeat over and over again, where I'd get up at the crack of dawn and I'd start baking like at 4 o'clock in the morning, make cakes for my children, for my friends. I never ate them. And then I would go for a run. And then I would go to CrossFit. And then I would take the kids to school and stuff. And then I would walk. And then I would work. And then I would walk more. I would quite often train again and run again. And this just carried on and on, day after day after day. And then in COVID, my dad died, and all those feelings that had been restricted for all that time that I thought I hadn't felt, I discovered that they were all still there, and they all started coming up. And I didn't know what to do because I'd never learned how to process emotions. I didn't know how to do it. And I thought I was going mad. I really, really thought I was going completely insane. So I did the only thing I knew how to do, which was restrict more. And it didn't work, which terrified me because that had always worked. That had been the thing that how I'd coped with everything, and it wasn't working. So I restricted some more, and I increased my exercise even more, and it still wasn't working. So I just basically completely stopped eating, and obviously my health went plummeting really, really quickly. I got kicked out of my gym because I was passing out. I was passing out when I was out on walks, and the kind of mask that I used to put on the end, at the end of the day when the children were back and my husband was back from work, to pretend everything was okay, I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't have the energy. And the lies I was telling about when I'd apparently eaten and stuff, I couldn't keep up with my own lies because my brain was just not functioning. And I just got to the point where I couldn't see any way out. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't know how to carry on. And I really, really thought I was going to be put in a mental hospital because I thought I'd gone mad and I had no idea how to cope. And in my incredibly malnourished state, the only solution I could think of was to take my life. And so I got everything ready, and I written letters, and everything was all ready. And then I sat down, I was just about to do it when a voice inside me just said, stop, you can't do this to your children. This is the most selfish thing you could ever, ever, ever do to them. And it will affect the rest of their lives. And that's not fair. And if you love them at all, you have to stop. And I do love them. I love them so much. And that did stop me. And I realized that I couldn't do that to them. And so I did something I'd never done before, which was ask for help. And that's where my recovery started.
Oh my God. I have so many feelings. I mean, it's not all the story, but I just want to say thank you to that voice, because if it wasn't that voice, we wasn't here right now.
Yeah. I think the love we have for our children is so strong.
It's so strong, so strong. And how was your journey to recovery?
Wow. Well, as you yourself know, it's not plain sailing, is it? It's hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. It's up and down. It's so hard. I learnt to cry for the first time in 40 years. And then I didn't stop crying for days, weeks, months. I just kept crying. And half the time I didn't even know why. It was just tears from over the years coming up. I learned that facing my fears isn't as scary as the fear of facing my fears. And I had the most incredible support. I'm a really bloody minded and determined person.
Yes.
So even though it was the hardest thing I've ever done, and I was literally terrified so much, I did everything my coach told me to do because she'd been there, she'd been on the journey, she'd walked the path, and she knew the way, she knew how to do it. and she knew how I felt and she understood. And so I just put my trust in her and I did everything she told me to do, a lot of the time with tears running down my face and hating every second of it. But I did it, and life got better and better and better and freer. And I went from hating every single part of myself, thinking that I had no rights to be on this earth, to I love who I am. I'm a good person, I'm a kind person, and I have this beautiful gift now of being able to support other people. So yeah, my life's amazing now.
And you look, I mean, that is just like obviously you look different, but your eyes, I mean, I remember your eyes, oh my gosh. And you are right, you are an amazing woman in all the senses. You are so kind, you are so lovely, and you like open your heart. Well, at least for me, and I can see for all your clients, like how much you open your heart and really share your experience, but not just like uh let's say not just in the intellect, with all your heart and with all your senses there. So I'm so proud of you. You know, I always tell you, but I'm so proud. And I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine now my process without you next to me because what we would do. I mean, if you wasn't in it, I remember sometimes Victoria told me like, I have another client that is eating really well. I was you. And I
Oh,
said,
it was
oh,
so
I
good.
can't escape.
It was so good to go through our journeys together.
Yes,
It really was.
it was. Yes. And today, we was chatting in the chat, like what would could be a good subject to talk, and we decided because I think we decided that talk about the motherhood and eating disorders. What happened with the moms of the dads? I mean, the parenting in general when someone suffer eating disorders, some of the parents. So me and you were a mom with eating
Yes.
disorder, and we know that it's like I don't know if an extra challenge besides being a teenager, because when you are a teenager with an eating disorder, it's not the whole responsibility on you. Well, you were 16 when you left your house, so was on you in some point. But when you have kids, it's like adding another kind of feelings there.
Yes. Yeah, it is. This tiny beings that are you're totally responsible for them. They're just, you have to step up. And
Mhm.
in a way, I think when they were tiny, that helped me with my eating disorder because I had to focus on them.
Yes,
And so I think my thoughts as a mother were more powerful, I suppose, because they're coming from love.
yes, that's true.
They were
Yes,
more
that's
powerful
true.
from than the eating disorder in the early days when the children were young.
Yes, I remember the same. Like my eating disorder the first years, when my kids born, because also I think we are kind of the same because they born very close, the three of them, and I think yours too. So it's like putting our attention in them. We wasn't recovered. I mean, we weren't recovered at that moment, but we weren't in the bed, in not in a too bad place that we went
Mm.
before.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, in your opinion, if there is some mom suffering with eating disorders over there, um, what do you think could be like a good way to ask for help? Because I'm asking you because why? Because um, you have all these thoughts about you cannot leave your kids for recovery. You can recover because you need the money. You can recover because you are the model of your kids. You can recover. I mean, I know we said before, like the kids are something that push, like keep on distracting, but in another way also like put so much, well, at least for me, they didn't do it. Of course, we put the guilt in like, I can recover because I need to focus on them.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely felt that. And I also felt that I had to show them I was strong and never show any weakness and try and I never wanted them to feel responsible for me at all. And I thought I had to be really, really, really strong. And when I look back, I realized that actually, when you show your children that sometimes you struggle and that you are a human being and that you're not always strong and that you do need help, you're giving them an incredible lesson, an unbelievable lesson. You're giving them permission to say, I'm struggling, to say, I need help. You're showing them that it's okay to not try and be perfect all the time. And that's a gift that I didn't give my children. I have since, and I think they're old enough now. I mean, they're all adults now, and they're old enough to understand and stuff. But I think that with regards to, oh, you don't have time or you're looking after the children, there will always be a reason not to recover. Even if you didn't
Yeah.
have children, there would still be a reason not to recover. There's always a reason not to. And there's never going to be a time when you're ready, when the eating disorder's ready for you to do it and when it's going to be easier. So, really, it's okay to show weakness because that's not weakness, it's actually strength. So, being vulnerable to your children gives them permission to show their own vulnerabilities. And everyone can adapt, people can step up, people will help. And generally, I truly believe that people love to be able to help. I think we all want to help people.
Yes.
And I
That's,
think your partner, your children would love to help you. They don't want to see you suffer.
yes, I agree with that. Like, they will help you. I mean,
Yeah,
the kids have that sense of love or because they're still connected with themselves. So they are really pure love that they don't have like that big judgment that we have as an adult. So it's amazing when someone needs help, the kids just come and like give you that love without like that's an unconditional love. And I remember my kids when they was like little, they do it with me in recovery in so many ways. So that's a powerful thing. Thank you for sharing that because I think um as a mom, I was scared like maybe they will not love me again, right? But they will say, but they will not say anything. They love us so much
they
that
do.
the only thing that they will like is their mom be okay. Because to be honest, being
Yeah,
a mom with an eating disorder is also horrible for them because we have always in a mood. We didn't have the patience. We just thinking or not concentrate in the important things in the life. We are just very taken away of that part. So
yeah.
um
It's like being a robot, just functioning and
yes,
doing the
for
stuff
sure.
that they need, but not being present with them.
Yes. So I think also will be a gift if the moms can recover in any stage because they will see the difference. Um, and I don't know if you have, well, your kids are grown up, but if you can come back, what will be the things that you wish you can teach them if you wasn't having the eating disorder? I don't know, I'm asking well or not.
I would love to have I mean, what's gone is gone. It is
Of
what it
course.
is. But if I could relive my time, I would teach them that all food is okay. Because I was like the food police. I was like, oh, you can't have, they never had crisps in their lunch boxes. They never had sweets. All their cakes were made of vegetables.
Yeah.
So they didn't have fun with food because I didn't know that food could be fun. Um, I believed, and I truly believed that I was doing the right thing. I thought I was looking after their health, but I didn't realize that health is not just about what you eat. Health is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's a big picture. It's not just about what you put in your mouth. And for them to learn that actually cake can be fun. You can wear hula hoops on your fingers and make rings out of them. Food can be fun, and it doesn't all have to be just for the specific nutrients that are going to benefit your body, and that all food's okay. So I would love to have gone back and given them the freedom that I feel my eating disorder took away from them.
Yeah. That's your eating disorder take away from them. Yeah. So our eating disorder take away a lot of it, not just for us, for the
Yeah,
family. It's not, and this is not like we feel now guilty because wasn't our fault. Actually, it was like the eating voice disorder. But of course, the damage around, let's say damage or the consequences is still around us. I mean, we cannot close our eyes. Um, and if someone is listening, it's not about like you feel bad for this. It's more like giving you a hug. We understand that could be something that worried you, but it's important sometimes reflect in these things because if you are a mom in little child, you still have time to do this, to stop doing these behaviors that is going to impact in your family. If you have grown kids, still it's impact in your family because the recovery journey of any eating disorder impacts in the family directly.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, the eating disorder affects so much more than just food, doesn't it? And
Yes,
my
it does.
children were, they had a mum that was like anxious all the time and couldn't cope with a mess. So they had to have their toys tidied up all the time. And I didn't sit on the floor and play Lego with them and stuff like that because I was just too worried about the mess and too worried about everything being perfect all the time. And that general level of anxiety takes away relaxation and fun
Of
and
course.
just happy family times and family memories.
Yes, I mean, I wasn't in that way the same, but I was not like stressing all the time with the times. Like everything has to pass in the correct time. Like now it's like we need to go to eat. Like now it's time to eat. It's, and start like just screaming crazy. It just if the people didn't came after 5 minutes, like I told you it's the time for eat. Like getting crazy with so little things and I take the joy of so many moments. Um, but at that moment, I was thinking, I'm just teach them that we need to listen. I was just teach them like they need to follow instruction, like just cover these things instead of take the responsibility. Like, no, I am literally stressed, and I can't cope these emotions, and
Yeah.
and in my case always was around the moments of the food and because I can't give me food to me I try to give food like food to all my family all the time and as you say like okay I need to give the perfect lunches right like trying to send the perfect lunches and send like the best recipes and send like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like trying to meet the perfect society standards for everything all the time in an effort to just, I guess, prove that you're good enough.
Yes, you are. And I don't know, like I remember in this moment, like I was nurturing the three of them. I mean, I was in a very skinny body, and also like my very bad nourishment at that moment when my kids born. And I remember just, okay, I need to nourish them and I need to give food. And I did like that kind of week that I was so focused and my body was so a blessing because how a woman, a pregnant woman or a nourished woman or a, like just having babies, how can the body support that? Like, that's amazing.
Our bodies are absolutely incredible. They really are.
Yes. So
I
I
honestly
think
don't know how I lived through everything I put my body through. I don't know how it kept me alive. I'm so, so grateful.
we should, like, literally, it's it's amazing. It's a blessing for myself, like for a blessing for everyone because we can experience the world. But at that moment wasn't a blessing, right? It was like something to carry and something that just lived with us. So as a mom now, you said like they are grown. Did they ask you things about your journey? They look interested in what happened to mom.
Good question. I think just being open and honest with your children. Just say I haven't been very well. You don't have to. Children understand so much more than you ever imagine that they will. And just being truthful, saying I have had an eating disorder and I'm trying to get better. Just be completely honest. And if they're little children, you can ask them to have meals with you because that's really helpful actually. And they'd love it and they'd love to feel that they're helping. And in fact, my youngest was basically the food police in my recovery, and he wouldn't let me get away with not eating. And he did it in a joking, funny way because, as I said, they're young adults now. And if I was like, I can't eat anymore, he'd be like, do you want me to get a spoon and make aeroplane noises? So your children love to give back some of what you give to
Yes.
them, and just you don't need to hide it from them.
Yeah, I remember the first time that I eat an ice cream in front of my kid, the whole ice cream. I remember the face of my daughter, my little daughter was like, Mom, are you going to eat? But she was so happy that I was eating an ice cream. I really I never going to forget her face because it's like, why you are like so happy? You have your own ice cream always, but just looking her mom being like, I don't know, the same as her, eating the same, like, blow her mind.
Yeah. And didn't you let your children help you get rid of your sick clothes, cut them up?
Yes, they cut it for me. I mean, I have like a little conversation before when I start the process, separate because they are in different ages. So I was just tell them what I thought it's important to know depends in the age. And to be honest, all of them was very supportive, very trying like, okay, mom. The girl, I mean, the girl was like, she cried with me. Like unexpected reaction really helped me to go through. The boy was a little bit, what are you telling me this, mom? Like, why? But like also like pushing me to, oh, you look better. Or now in this moment, like I love, like he comes to me, touch my tummy, and say, I love your tummy, mommy. I love your tummy.
That's so beautiful.
It is so beautiful. And to be honest, was a very important part of my recovery as was yours. Like was the motor inside, the engine there.
Yeah. I mean, realistically, all our children want is to receive our love and to give us love.
Yes,
And
yes,
the
it
eating
is.
disorder takes away from that.
Take totally aware. And the family is, I think the eating disorder is like a devil because they take the joy for everyone around the people. I see so many teenagers with an eating disorders, and the mom and the dad, and if they have siblings, suffer so much, take all the joy around. If the people like is in a relation and they don't live more in home but have a relation, take the joy away from the relation. And if they are moms or they have families around, they take the joy from everyone there. It's like a, a killer of joy. And yes,
I was just going to say, I guess if you think about it, I mean, even if you were like a single mum and you had children at home and you were in the sole care of them,
yes,
and you knew that the recovery journey was going to be rough and tough and hard, I believe, and this is my personal opinion, that your children would rather have a rough few months with you and then have their mum back present and full and happy and free than to see you stay in the eating disorder and have this mum that's just trapped in the cage of the eating disorder and is unable to be present and sharing their joy for years. So I think there's
totally.
few months of it being tough and difficult, and it's worth it for the freedom of the future for your children as well as yourself.
And it's funny because now you say that it's like also the process of the family healing because I can see kids maybe if they need to heal something that happened to them because the eating disorder is the moment to them to like to get in a way. Maybe the family can just heal together. Is this mom with just the kids? It's like
Yeah,
this process, and maybe they can take it in this way. Like it's their moment to heal and a new start from them.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It sharing your healing journey with your children is actually a really beautiful thing to do. And just the gift you're giving them by showing them that people aren't perfect and that it's okay to not be okay sometimes is huge.
Yes. And to be honest, I didn't think. I mean, I don't think, and I can assure you that they are not going to judge you. I mean, they are just going to love you. But at the moment before saying, of course, there's so many dots. But first, that's not your real dots. The eating disorder voice that told you like, oh, that's not going to be good. You are going to create like a trauma response to your kids. You are going to um, ruin their lives, or I don't know how many excuses the eating disorder is going to put you in your mind. Step away. But one time you say it, it's going to be, I don't say easy, but it's going to be quote easy to go to the next step because you will have an army that behind you. It was your family, so that's really important. And I don't know, like, what do you think was your really challenge to recover um, and show this vulnerability with your kids?
Sorry, can you repeat the last bit?
Yeah, like, what's the challenge from, or what was the challenge for you? Like, showed your vulnerability to your family, to your kids during recover.
That was for me a huge challenge to be vulnerable and stuff in front of my children, because I did believe that they'd hate me, and I did believe that that would be completely wrong of me to do that, that I was supposed to be the strong one. But that was actually all eating disorder thoughts. They were disordered. And the reality is, my family met me with open arms and support and didn't hate me for a second. And they were so happy that I had given them the gift of being able to show their love and support to me.
Mhm. And you have just, I remember now your episode. well, all your information is going to be here. So if you want to go and check Julia podcast, but she has a very, very I will say interesting, beautiful, open heart episode with her husband, and you share that things like how your husband was like a very supportive part of your treatment, right?
Only when I let him be, though. That
Yeah.
was the thing. He couldn't support me until I allowed him in.
And for I bet like he's also growing with you,
Yeah.
growing in this journey with you. Like so it's worthy, like you say. We say it's worthy, recovery is worthy, but it's not worthy for us. It's like worthy for everyone around us.
Yeah, it is. It's my whole family's grown. We've all
Yeah.
evolved, we've all developed, and we're all better versions of ourselves.
Okay, something that I found as a coach, and I don't know if you found like a lot of treatment outside are like very focused in the teenagers
Yes.
years. Um and really it's like very few, like of course like trying to reach out adult people are more like, let's say, not just young adults, like really in the mid of your age. Do you think the treatment is different? Do you think like they need a different approach there?
Yes, I think they need to be allowed to own their own recovery and
Yes.
be supported in that. I think my impression of recovery services, which are primarily aimed at teenagers, is that they don't own their recovery. They are kind of forced into recovery, particularly within treatment centres and stuff. And I think that's why a lot of people relapse, because they haven't owned their recovery. It's not been theirs, it's been somebody else's journey that they've been part of. But I think for adults, we actually have to be responsible for our own journeys with support, absolutely 100% with support, because I know for without a shadow of a doubt, I could not have done this alone. Absolutely couldn't have done it on my own. Some people do, and that's absolutely amazing, but it's so much easier with support. And I think a lot of eating disorder services is very, very focused on the food. And my opinion is the food is just a symptom. It really is. And the eating disorder is a coping mechanism that was generally developed from when you were pretty young, when you didn't know any other way. And so it's more about finding why and learning that you are actually good enough and you are actually worthy and deserving, and learning to love yourself. Because when you love yourself fully, you don't want to hurt yourself anymore. You want to look after yourself.
Wow, that's, and I ask you that because I found this like all the message that we receive from outside from receiving treatment or recovery is like, okay, it's like very focused in this age and take in some part of your adulthood, you say like, okay, I don't know, you keep these thoughts inside that someone can really not make the process but come and help you to recover, or be waiting to someone just came and appear in your life and you are going to be okay, because that's the way that some in some part in the teenage work, right? Like the parents take the kids recover like everything, but that is not going to happen in the adulthood. I mean, it's our responsibility to recover, and we say in a very lovely way because we know it's difficult, but the only people that can take the decision to recover is ourselves,
Yeah,
and the only people that can make the actions to recover is ourselves.
yeah, absolutely. It does have to come from you.
Yeah.
And I do believe that there are so many people that think that because they're an adult, they don't qualify for any help, that it's too late. They've lived it for too long. They're too old. This is just it now. This is how it is. This is how their life is going to be. And I think people get stuck with that kind of thinking because they don't believe that they're worthy of recovery or that it's possible because they're an adult and they've been living with this for years. But I don't believe that. I believe that anybody can recover. I mean, one of my clients is well into her 60s and she's lived
Yeah.
with an eating disorder for a really long time. And she's living her best life now. She is so happy and so free and is living more now than she has in the rest of her life before.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's thank you for sharing that. Like recovery could be for anyone.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean,
Doesn't matter how old you are.
how old or how deep you think you are? I mean, one time that you take the decision, it's not a magic thing. I mean, it's difficult to recover. It's not easy way to recover. It's not like a easy path and you can skip parts of the recovery. You need to pass through all that stages of the recovery. But it's could happen for everyone. Could happen. And
It
it's
is
at
possible.
and it's just for the first thing that I mean it starts for the decision of recovery because when you decide, I mean the decision is on you and you are going to carry that decision for the long of your process of the recovery.
And it doesn't
Mm.
even have to be the whole of you that wants to recover, because there will be a part, the
Of
eating
course.
disorder part, that says, no, 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 you can't recover. I don't want to recover. It's too scary. I can't do it. But if there's a part of you that longs for that freedom and is willing to show up for herself, then you can recover.
Yes, that's it. That's Julia, well, just for wrapping up, could you send like yeah, a special message to these adult women, moms, or adult men, dads that are listen to us and they don't know how to start recover, but they really want to recover.
First of all, it's absolutely possible. It's okay to show your vulnerabilities. That's okay. And you do deserve to recover. However little you might think of yourself, just by being a human being, you deserve to recover. You don't have to do anything other than be human to be deserving. I know a lot of people think they're not sick enough to recover, and that's just a dirty trick from the eating disorder. Because if it's affecting your life in any way, then you're sick enough. You don't have to be a certain weight or a certain BMI or restrict to a certain number of calories. It just has to affect you and make you unhappy. And that means you're sick enough. So just reach out to somebody, get some help, because you absolutely can do this. You've just got to want to and show up for yourself, and that's enough.
Yes, that's enough. That's enough. If they want to reach it out, um, can you tell us how you work and what are you doing in the coaching?
Oh, well, I love what I do so much. So I do primarily one-to-one coaching for people to come recover from eating disorders, which involves weekly Zoom sessions and completely unlimited WhatsApp support, which is really where the magic happens. It's like having your best friend in your pocket. And it's all done through love, because I truly believe that love is always the answer. And so, yeah, If anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm sure that Karla will be putting my
Yes.
details in the show notes, and you can get hold of me on Instagram or through my website. But do reach out to somebody. If it's not me, reach out to Karla. If it's not Karla, just reach out to somebody, because you do deserve it and you can do it. And oh, it's so worth it. Life is just so different and it's amazing. And you don't just exist anymore, you actually live.
Yes. It is amazing being here. It is amazing also like the gifts of the recovery, the friends that recovery brings, the people that you met after recovery. Like, oh my gosh. I mean, changed my life. At least for me, it's like an extra present. I don't know if it happens to anyone, but I received from God like an extra present, like really amazing friends, sisters. Like, wow, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. You
Yeah,
make some just like soul connections, really, don't you?
yeah, yeah. Thank you, Julia. Thank you for this year. Thank you for a part for your clients. I know your clients need you in this moment, but thank you for coming.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing. I'm just so excited for you having your podcast, and
Oh my gosh.
fantastic, Karla.
Yeah, one day we are going to make another episode, maybe together in the boat podcast, like telling what we say about before coming a podcast, who we was.
Oh, wow, that would
Actually,
be so cool.
you and parties as Victoria, like this is your fault. This podcast is because of you guys. Like you was like encouraging me so much and cheering me like, yeah. So maybe the little letters could be like Julia and Victoria, co-producers of this. Thank you, thank
Oh,
you.
thank you.
Oh, gracias por escucharnos el día de hoy. Espero que este episodio les haya gustado mucho. Nos vemos en el siguiente. Que tengan una muy bonita semana y no olviden, si necesitan ayuda, contacten a mí, a Julia, a cualquier persona que sea profesional y que esté lista para ayudarte en este proceso. No tienes que vivirlo sola y hay mucha vida allá afuera esperando. Gracias, bonita semana. Bye.
Bye.